because then I have to move my neck left and right. I can just do it one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to, well, Film Bazaar to start with, and this particular discussion, which has to do with something so important, regardless of what time of the year or what year in our lives, which is really jobs, isn't it? And that's what we're talking about through the prism of skilling, upskilling, reskilling in the media and entertainment industry as far as this particular discussion is concerned. We have representatives from the government, we have representatives from the industry. Me is the outsider here, looking in on behalf of the audience. And I'm going to start this discussion with you, Dr. Kalsi. We hear the terms skilling, reskilling, upskilling. For all of us who may not know the difference between the three, you're the right person to tell us exactly what that means.
Thank you so much. See, these three words are extremely important, which have been used by Honorable Prime Minister time and again. Skilling refers to the initial skilling on a subject where you learn the subject right from start. In India, we divide all these skills in 8 levels, level 1 to level 8. So if I talk about it, normally thumb rule is that if you want level 3 skill, you put in 300 hours. If you want level 8 skills, you put at least 800 hours. So that's the way you go. So skilling means ab initio skilling, right from start. When I talk about upskilling, that means if somebody is already skilled on a particular job and he wants to add the knowledge of new technology, that is where the upskilling comes in. So upskilling means that you don't have much time, you're putting in 30 hours or say 25 hours or even 15 hours of time, and then you get yourself aligned with the latest in the world. So that is upskilling. Reskilling is when your job has really lost its relevance and you want to be skilled on another job which is an adjacent job. So you are using some knowledge from the previous job, but job role is not the same. For example, now if some people are coming out of NTPC and they want to be trained for green skills, so though they have the knowledge of power, they understand the power sector, but they will have to be reskilled on new job role, which is green energy.
Right. Yeah. Right. And of course, because we're talking here, particularly focusing on the entertainment and media industry, Ms. Sekar, you are with the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. We're all aware of things to do with skilling that come under that ministry. Of course, there's always been the Film and Television Institute of India. There's the SRFTII in Kolkata, Pune is FTII. There's been the National School of Drama. There's also, because we are at Film Bazaar, there's also the NFDC, the National Film Development. I think what would be of interest to me in particular, because I'm speaking on behalf of the audience, what are the initiatives that the government takes or your ministry takes in particular to skill people in areas that are firstly so dynamic, and what are the gaps that you always find, given that everything changes and at any point in time in entertainment for sure, whatever your skills are, you always have to reskill, you always have to upskill.
Yes, Mayank. So when we talk about media entertainment, we talk about feature films, we talk about non-feature films, we talk about advertising, short videos, music videos, gaming, animation, VFX, comics. So it's a huge, huge sector. In addition to, of course, the news and print medium, but we're talking of the entertainment medium, if I may here. So it's a huge and a very large landscape, entertainment landscape that we are talking about. And therefore, it becomes a responsibility to respond to this landscape and see where the skill gaps are or what are the future requirements of this industry. So recently, there are a number of achievements and a number of list of things that we have been doing for this sector. But the current ones, which we feel are the most emerging segments of Media and entertainment sector are the animation, what we call the animation, visual effects, gaming, and the comic sector. The AVGC sector, for which a task force was made last year after the Honorable Finance Minister had announced in the budget. Task force report was submitted where the Secretary, Information and Broadcasting was the chairperson. After consultation with the entire industry on issues of education, skilling, policy, industry development, etc., and mainly how to develop IPs within India. We all know there's a huge workforce here, but we don't want to be backroom boys. We want to be the creators of content and creators of IP. So how to go about it? We are working on a national policy for that, whereby we'll be supporting the entire sector. So this is the current flavor. In addition to that, you all are aware that we have film schools, 2 of them in the central government sector, a lot of them with the state governments, a lot of them in the private sector. There are departments and colleges for filmmaking in other institutes, in universities, in National Institute of Design, in a number of universities and colleges. And then we have our National Film Development Corporation, which is providing skilling courses, skill development and capacity building courses wherever the skill gaps are seen in the industry or there are requirements in the industry. For example, just yesterday, one of the delegates I met, I was told that there are very few women cinematographers in the country. It was not more than 150, including the assistant cinematographers. So what do we do? So just to begin with, as an immediate idea, we decided that the NFDC will immediately start a course. We'll undertake a few courses on skill development for women in the cinematography sector. So these are areas as and when these are developing or wherever we see there are gaps where certain gap filling is required, we try to immediately respond to that. And overall in the skilling sector, we have NCVET, Mr. Kalsi will be talking about it, who's the regulator for the entire skilling sector in the country. So from there we get our modules, our basic skilling detailing from there, and alignment with their courses or adoption of their modules is what we are looking at. So, and we will be soon coming up with the National Center of Excellence for the AVGC sector. We have been talking about it, and process of approval within the government is on, and we are very hopeful that in the animation, VFX, and gaming, you're all aware that the way the gaming is getting multiplying revenues in the economy. The growth of the gaming sector is 23% CAGR. That's huge. So it is one of the major sectors in the entire media entertainment sector where we are looking at a massive growth. So not only people are creating, but people are consuming. So, naturally, the way the economy is growing, it becomes a responsibility to support that sector, to facilitate that sector. So these are the areas we are looking at.
So ma'am, are you looking at, in that sense, when you say a national center, would it be to, say, animation or VFX or gaming, what FTII is to films? Is that the direction that you would eventually take in order to skill people in what is a fairly new sector, isn't it?
Yes. In fact, NCOE will be more dynamic than FTI and SRFTI.
Right.
Because
Which is not to say FTI is not dynamic,
no,
of course.
I'm trying to bring about the difference between the two, because FTI and SRFTI run long-term courses, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year courses. This one, and they are both academic and hands-on, and then people pass out from there and go to the industry. The NCOE we are looking at is going to be more industry-driven. There will be courses. Of course, there will be courses, but there will also be short-term courses. There will also be industry coming to the NCOE, skilling people, And then these people, and there will be skill gaps. There will be finishing schools because people pass out. They don't have the basic communication skills, or they would not have the managerial skills or the social media skills to handle their own careers. So these are the skills we are looking at. Also looking at long term, short term, and these finishing school kind of, or skill gap of, or upscaling of skills with the industry. Because today, most of the courses, most of the training is being given in-house by the studios for their own people.
Right.
So we need many more people.
Right.
This is an NCO that we are
Which
talking
actually
about
does make
here.
sense. If you look at the whole media schooling landscape in India, it's incredibly expensive. Most people can't afford it, and that's a gap that the government can fill for students who cannot afford those schools, which are prohibitively expensive. I'm going to come to you, Ms. Huria. You belong to what is now called the OTT industry, or over-the-top industry. Of course, the material in it is not over the top. It's the opposite, in fact. The content that is there is not OTT. But this is also an industry that's barely 7 years old. And if I'm not mistaken, you have dealt with the television industry before this. You've obviously dealt with films. When OTT platforms came into India, the landscape that they saw, the world that they saw in terms of skilling, in terms of the kind of talents that you can draw, what were the gaps there, and how is it that you managed to fill those gaps? Because this is not film, and this is not television. It's a whole new world, isn't it?
It truly is, but I'll answer the question in two parts on what we saw. One is, of course, basis the inputs that we got from the government of India. We felt that, as a company, we have the resources, we have the reach, we have the tacit knowledge. How can we contribute to fuel this creative economy? Because just in these 7 years, you've seen the kind of job creation that is happening, not just in front of the camera, but also behind the
Way
camera.
more behind the camera,
Way more
obviously.
behind
Right.
the camera.
Right.
There are just way more talent that you are seeing in the technical part of it, also in the acting part of it. It's not just limited to, these are the people, these are the actors that are only doing Bollywood films, or they're just doing TV. Now, there are just simply actors that you see across all three mediums. So what we really saw when we were talking to the ministry as well, how can Prime Video enable and empower this whole sector? Which is why we entered into a letter of engagement with the ministry earlier on 2023. And we then committed to providing internships. We committed to providing scholarships to students that come out from SRFTI and FTI. And of course—
Oh, amazing.
Yes. So
So does it need to be only from these two institutes, or is it across media schools in India?
currently it is from these,
Right.
so that there is a way to monitor
Right.
and structure them.
Yes.
And this is, it's really big. I don't think anybody is actually doing that as we speak. Because the idea is very simple. Once the students get out, where are they going to find the jobs? We will get them ready for the real world. They will have exposure at a streaming giant like ours. They will really work with our teams and get ready to sort of then figure whether this is the place they want to continue or get on to doing their own films or series that as they want to progress. So that's one part. The second part is at Prime Video, we really believe that we want to work with fresh talent, which is again behind and in front.
Right.
So when we work with newer creators, we believe that they all have the skill sets, but are they sort of in place to work with the streaming world? So we workshop with them. We workshop with them in the writer's room. We workshop with them with our international creators. We work with them on their Bibles so that, once they're ready to sort of produce the content, they know when they give it to us, it's going to be in a certain form and manner. Because long form content is not something that people are used to, like you rightly said. People were only used to television or they were used
Right.
to the movies. So this is something that we're actively working with. Yeah.
Right. So two questions. One, of course, is are you going to have more women cinematographers through that program of yours? Because that's something that Ms. Sekhar brought up, rightly so, right? The second is quite obviously to do with when you're actually workshopping talents. Who's workshopping them? I'm presuming you're getting talents from other parts of the world with those skills in order to, is that what's happening here?
Yeah, so basically, given the reach of Prime Video, we make sure that we have our executives that are internationally based who are workshopping with talents in the West. So we make sure we get them down. Sometimes we do it virtually as well. It all doesn't have to be physically done.
Right.
So we make sure that before anybody gets onto the project, they are fully workshopped from start to finish. Like the fresh talent especially. Like
Right.
how do you want to act in front of the camera? They are taught that in the film school, but it's a very different journey that they take with
Right.
us.
Plus, they have a job.
Yes.
So, that matters far more
That
than
matters
any
far more,
schooling
yeah.
from anywhere in the world.
Correct.
Speaking of the world, of course, Ms. Balgam, you've worked in the US, you've worked with China, you obviously are here in India right now. When you look at these three completely different markets, completely different entertainment economies, where do you think India's strengths lie and where do you think India's challenges lie in order to reap the benefits of what is really becoming a more and more integrated world when it comes to entertainment, isn't it?
First of all, I'm extremely nervous sitting with all of you. But at the same time, I'm very, very thrilled.
How do we
to
get you
be-
more nervous? You tell me. I'm just saying.
Mayank, just sitting with you is quite, and then having all of these dignitaries here. Yes, he's endearing. But I just wanted to say that for me, I believe that talent is universal. And talent exists in India and talent exists everywhere. So from the last 20, 25 years that I've been traveling all around the world, I have only believed in people. And it's the trust that the minute you tell somebody that you trust them, talent automatically excels because you've given them the opportunity to shine.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what Madam and Sir are talking about, and Sonia also here, that you just have to believe in the talent that is there in front of you, and magic automatically happens. So for me, what is a very painful thing for me for the past 40 years, or around 40 years of my life, is that I have not seen India being creative. And I'm talking purely out of love. When I say this, my father actually, way back in 85, went to Annecy, which is one of the largest animation film festivals, and wanted to bring Indian content to the world. And today I go to Annecy, one of my projects got selected last year, and it's still the same struggle. Indian talent has a lot of great IPs, but we have to nourish them. We have to believe in them. And I think, someone like Amazon, all the other OTT platforms that are around here, if we start believing even in the AVGC sector, I think it's going to boomerang. And I think the timing is absolutely perfect, personally, because of all the technology that has come, and we are on par with all the technology that never existed. We were always 20 years behind.
Right.
So when I started Rhythm and Hues, we just couldn't find the talent to do very, very high quality work. So I literally handpicked students from, 10th standard, 12th standard, whatever, like they came. And we did a 6 months internship program. And we trained them on our proprietary tools. Today, all of them are top-level animation directors, supervisors, lighters. And it's primarily because you invest. And I think that's the beauty of what skill development is doing, is that you invest in your people. And I think we are in a great place.
What's changed, though, Ms. Balgam, in the past few years, given that IP was a struggle from India? It probably still is a struggle from India, but you are seeing far greater optimism in the field that you have before. Has technology become far more accessible than it's ever been, or is India just a right place at the right time from standpoint of creativity in general?
I think India is by birth creative. Like I walk around and I just see a lot more creative people here. There's a word called jugaad. If we can't do it this way, we'll do it that way, but we will get it done.
Right.
And I think I love that energy that all of us, me as a writer-director, I'm not going to give up because I want my IP to be there, not just in India, but on the international level. We won an Academy Award for Life of Pi,
Right.
as a visual effects studio. And there were about 700 artists from Southeast Asia that worked on that project. So we are more than capable of doing all of that. It just needs that we as Rhythm and Hues ended up spending a lot of energy in training. But with the skill sets that we are looking at, I think things are absolutely going to change.
Right.
So I want to see creative India.
Well, speaking of Life of Pi, nothing has ever scared me than that tiger on the screen. And if you're ever to be scared or nervous, I can understand because you're sitting right next to Dr. Kalsi. He used to handle all the police systems in India. Now you're, of course, a regulator for 60 sectors, sir, when it comes to skilling. When you just focus or look at media and entertainment separate from all the other sectors, you look at how is this different and what are the challenges here that may not be true for the others?
See, first of all, I would like to point out that there is a beautiful policy which Government of India has brought about, which is called the National Education Policy.
Right.
Now, under this National Education Policy, now we are trying to integrate skilling into all aspects of education at all levels. Both for education as well as skilling, the levels are same, level 1 to 8. Now, the beauty is that the academic skilling, academics is at level at X, skilling is at Y, and experiential learning is at Z. So all three axes put together can earn you credits, and those credits can then be used for your degree, your diploma, your certificates. So that means one of the biggest difference which has been made is that now in your UG and PG programs, you can integrate all these skills required by the media entertainment sector as these skills. And they can be part of a history course, part of an English course or a Hindi course, or even geography, or even science and technology. Also, it says that up to 25% of the courses can be multidisciplinary courses. Suppose somebody is doing Bachelor of Engineering in computer science. He can do a course in media entertainment, up to 25% credits.
That's amazing.
He
That's
can get
fantastic.
from any skills, any subject of his choice, up to 25%. That means he can get a minor in media entertainment while a major in computer science. So in 60 sectors which we are working in, so far we have approved something like 7,000 skill qualifications. We call them qualifications. And there is expiry to every qualification. Expiry is 3 years. After 3 years, the qualification will have to be updated. Unless you update it, it will go in Thanda Basta. It will be archived. Now, media entertainment itself has 198 qualifications already approved,
Wow.
including about 43 qualifications in the new age group, in the newer kind of qualifications which are required. If you want, I can give you an indicative list of some of the future qualifications which we are looking at. Now, display advertising manager, digital advertising specialist, insights manager, design architects, system validation engineer, 3D artist, technology fabricator, pattern information data analyst, drama therapist, okay, pay-per-click search engine marketeer, social media marketeer, digital media specialist. So these are some of the areas which are from media entertainment sector.
So are you telling me, sir, if I'm in Delhi University and I'm learning, say, economics honors, and that, of course, is the primary degree I'm going to get at the end of the number of years that I spend learning economics, but I can do a drama therapy course and earn 25% of my credit?
Absolutely,
That's
that is what I'm
fantastic.
telling you.
Sir, all I learned was 18 courses of economics when I was in college. Literally all my papers were just economics.
You must reappear now.
Huh? I will reappear. My question to you is, who's going to do the teaching? Because these are also very new fields. Is that going to be a gap in terms
That's a
of
wonderful
who's the
question
instructor?
you are asking. That's a wonderful question you are asking. See, if you go to university, normally the number of teaching hours are 600 to 700 hours in 1 year in both semesters. Now, the NEP and NCRF, the National Credit Framework, puts it at 1,200 hours of learning every year. I'm not saying teaching. Please see that difference. 1,200 hours of learning per year, giving you 40 credits. That means 30 hours per credit. You can earn these credits, and if you're doing a skilling course, you don't need a professor to teach. Even a professor of
professional
practice,
can teach you, right?
professionals can come
Right.
and teach you.
Right.
And that is embedded in the qualification design itself. Who can teach? So anybody can teach. Anybody who is from industry can teach. Similarly, the assessment method is already there. It's embedded in the qualification. What is going to be the ratio of online and offline teaching is embedded in every qualification. Like these 198 qualifications which I mentioned, it has all details. So teachers is not a problem. Normal teacher will not be able to teach.
Right. Right.
It is people from industry who are going to teach.
That is fascinating. I have to say, I had no idea that that's the direction that we were heading at. Of course, I'm going to leave this little discussion between government industry because they're all seated together in terms of, ma'am, Ms. Sekar, when you look at the industry from the standpoint of the government, of course, and there are certain responsibilities you have towards citizens in terms of skilling, of course, and in this case, within media and entertainment, what do you think the industry can do far more than it does already to sort of equip people in this field stronger than it has done before? Of course, we know that what the government does, and that's always an area that interests us because those are the initiatives, and I would love to know more initiatives that the government is going to roll out in due course of time. But when you look at the industry, what do you think the industry could do better? And here you have two people from the industry who could certainly take feedback from you. No, you can give it back, of course. You get the chance.
See, film industry and the entertainment industry is largely private, in the private sector.
Right.
We do have a public broadcaster, that is the Doordarshan and All India Radio, and a community-led radio, which is called community radio station, which are called community radio stations. Rest, the entire sector is private. The role of the NFDC is to support that private industry. So largely everything is in the private sector. Therefore, from the government side, an understanding and collaborations with the industry becomes very important. Therefore, whatever the skills that the council is doing, or the training courses, or the incentive structure, or the support to the film production side, whatever is being done is in collaboration with the industry. Therefore, even when we came about with our report on what a national policy for the AVGC sector should be, it was all industry driven.
Right.
Our ministry today is entirely working entirely in collaboration with the industry because that's where the knowledge is. It comes to us, we put things together, they tell us what the gaps are or what the requirements are. We put things together, we collaborate with fellow ministries, and then we come up with a product. That's how it is working. For example, people said that a lot of, in fact, there's a huge demand from the independent film producers that they are not able to distribute because they are not able to negotiate with the exhibitor, the distributor, or the digital platform providers.
Right.
So there's a huge demand that their works should be shown somewhere.
Right.
They don't have a platform.
Right.
So that the distribution is an issue which we have to resolve, sitting with the industry. Similarly, they also need funds because funds are not available. Institutional finance is not available
Right.
for many independent filmmakers. So that's where we feel we can support by producing independent, helping production of independent cinema. That's where the role of NFDC comes in. So in many different ways, we are trying to respond to the issues of the film industry, and absolutely it has to be in collaboration.
Ma'am,
That's how we look at it.
I have to say, of course, we are at Film Bazaar, and that is an NFDC initiative to begin with. But back in the 80s when we were growing up, NFDC used to make a lot of films, and a number of directors who got their break because of government-funded films is incredible. And they've given, and we all know their names from Vidhu Vinod Chopra to like so many of them. They made their first films thanks to NFDC. Do you think now the role of NFDC has become far more as a facilitator than a producer or an active film producer? Is that what has happened?
There's been a curve.
Right.
And the curve is now going to rise. Because recently, you would know, in the last 2 years, we've done an exercise. We've been thinking about it. So within the ministry, we've merged all the different film media units we had in the ministry and merged them with NFDC. And we've decided as a policy to strengthen only NFDC. And no other media units are in existence. They all got merged from 1st January this year. So there is no Directorate of Film Festivals, which used to organize IFFI earlier, and Film Bazaar used to be with NFDC earlier. Or the film archiving, preservation, National Film Archive, now that is also merged with. So entire work in the film sector is now being done by NFDC. And government support to independent filmmakers for production of films, documentary films, shorts, and special support to the northeastern film sector, film producers is available. So now you'll shortly see, they have been called for applications for film productions. So you'll shortly see that NFDC will start supporting. In fact, I can share it in this on this platform, that we are looking at the works submitted in the Film Bazaar for financing by NFDC. So
there you go.
A committee has been formed by the MD NFDC, and we'll be financing, and ministry has already provided a certain finance up to 20 crores to the NFDC to finance projects which have already been received here. So that's, you can say, it's kind of one of the few first steps that we have taken.
That's fantastic. Clearly, there's the other part that I would like to ask you guys. Is there anything that you believe the government can facilitate better in terms of making the lives of filmmakers like you, content creators like you, platforms like you, a lot easier? There's a good chance. Don't be nervous with Dr. Kalsi sitting next to you.
No. I'm already in love with him, so I'm not worried about that. One of the things that I wanted to mention is I've been a part of a lot of non-profit organizations like ASIFA India and Women in Animation India. And speaking, been there for about 22 years in India, promoting Indian talent all around the world and creating webinars and, stuff, all pro bono. I don't get paid to do any of that. But one of the things, by just, having this conversation, I'm so inspired, and I would love to suggest one small thing, is in Canada, the Canadian government gives something called the seed money. And what they do is that they do it for animation productions, whether it's a short film, whether it's a feature film, whether it's a TV series. I'm talking very specific animation, gaming, whatever. So when I went to GDC this year, and I'm also into gaming, so when I went to all of these places, what I've realized is we don't really need money only. Money is important. Money does make things move, but it's also this collaboration and combination of what we are looking at. Right, and how do you create that little portal that you go in, because, do you go here, do you go there, you get lost. So for documentaries, there's a very clear list of all the places that I can go raise funds for my documentary film. If I want for a feature live action film, I know all the places where I can go do that. I think it's very, very important, especially in the gaming. I just did a program, which I was telling earlier, that I did a program for 100 women over 19 countries, 9 different time zones, 100 gamers. So I did an entire 5-week program for gaming, and we finished from concept to trailer in 5 weeks.
Wow.
Now, those need to be published. So what happens is talent is ready to put in their time, put in their hours. And then if we get a little bit of seed money from the government and also from the studios, which is a big thing that is missing. So if you go back and take a look at the model in France or in the US, a lot of the Disney films were originally funded by the company itself to make shots while there
Right.
were people were sitting idle. So that can become skill development in its own,
Right.
right? So I would urge the government to also reach out to the studios, not just give out money, but also find those collaborations where we can build a creative India, you know, whether it's gaming, animation, short films, AR, VR, it doesn't matter what it is, but creatively we highlight. And the second thing that I said is, I'm very, very fortunate that I have traveled all around the world to a lot of great festivals at my own expense. A young student sitting in India wins an award, but what happens after? Right? They never get promoted. They're not visible on the world
true,
map.
that's true.
So some kind of a platform,
Right.
again, even if you don't have to give them the money to go to Annecy or go to Zagreb or to go to FMX or any of these places, or Animation is Film, or Ottawa, how do you create
Right.
some kind of a synergies and
Right.
relationships?
I mean, speaking of Vidhu Vinod Chopra, he told us a beautiful story about how when his film was nominated for the Oscars, it was a short film and he was a student at the time.
Right.
LK Advani, who was the minister of INB, gave him money to go to the actual ceremony because obviously he was a young kid and he didn't have the money for it. These are areas, of course, the government should be able, I mean, we could be able to petition the government. I think what might be interesting also for the audience, Ms. Sekar, is if you could tell them all these things that are happening with NFDC, these soft skilling programs, these short-term certificate programs. Is there a place where one can access that information and apply? Is there a website that one can look at these things?
Yes, of course, the NFDC website
Right.
is very active on this. And also you can look at the Film Facilitation Office, which is, it's an international festival. So if somebody from any country wants to collaborate with an Indian production company or with actors or with an Indian production team, there is incentives are available for this kind of collaboration, for shooting of a film in
Right.
India, and also for co-productions, which is under a legal treaty which we have with 16 countries today. So for that we have the Film Facilitation Office website. So these are the places where.
So basically, if I just get on NFDC website, I should be able to navigate that information
yes,
for all these programs. You had a question for the government? Is there anything that you would?
I don't have a question just alone for the government, but
Right.
I just believe that all of us together need to do a lot when it comes to diversity and inclusion. It is such a huge gap right now. We are, just for females alone, it's the 50% of the population, but you still see movies, series sort of being helmed in front and behind by a male-dominated population. We need the female gaze in the writing room. We need the female gaze everywhere, in front and behind as well. When you see the trailers, when you see the posters, it's all dominated by males. I really believe that together as an industry, including the government and all of us, and you being the media as well, we really need to prop up inclusivity here because it's not an option anymore. It's really a necessity.
Right.
And what can we do together is something that I'd urge each one of us to put our thinking caps on.
Right. I mean, of course, we have started from this particular panel discussion. That is 75% ladies, one gentleman. I'm going to have you give the last word, Dr. Kalsi. You're a person who's looking at a very national level at skilling as something that will take us forward as a country. For you personally, what is that one thing that gives you hope in terms of how we see India in the next 10 to 15 years after all these programs that you've spoken of take shape?
See, I understand that skilling is the only difference between, only impediment between a successful developed India and India. So that's how the Honorable Prime Minister feels. So therefore, we are going to integrate skilling into every aspect of Indian industry, Indian business, and whatever we are doing in India. So this media entertainment industry is extremely important to us. It is $2.3 trillion industry. Now the global economy size is about $100 trillion, and this is about 2.3% of that. And if I include the gaming industry as well, which is about 500 billion. So put together, it is about 3% of the global value chain. And India can really lead this. India can provide all the skills required for this kind of an industry. India can work remotely. So you can find thousands of jobs in India which are supporting the filmmakers outside India.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that is our dream. Thank you.
Right. I mean, I have to say, I am way brighter right now than I was an hour ago. I've learned lots of new things. Hopefully, this knowledge will also turn into a skill someday. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for doing this. It was a fascinating discussion. Thank you.